Another Illinois starter enters the transfer portal. All right, let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another breaking news edition of Locked On Illini. Not the kind, admittedly, I enjoy having. Before we get started, this episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. All right, so news broke by my good friends at the Armchair Illini Network a couple hours ago that Tre White, Illinois starter, is also entering the transfer portal. This, of course, comes on the heels of Morez Johnson Jr. entering the transfer portal yesterday. And, admittedly, I'm surprised by the news, but I'm also surprised by how alarmed other people are by this news. I thought, I made it pretty clear. I just realized my background's different. I thought I made it pretty clear as I was talking since the season ended that I'm a big Tre White fan. I think Tre White is a very good college basketball player and someone who I wanted back. But I wasn't exactly surprised or shocked by I was surprised, but I'm not floored by the fact that he's entering the transfer portal for the reasons I mentioned before. Obviously he was recruited by Tim Anderson. The assistant coach that Illinois had let go. There was a mutual parting of ways, let's put it that way, very late in the offseason last year. And, Tre was brought in by Tim. And so the fact that Tim is not here, Morez Johnson's another Tim Anderson guy. And, and then we had the Tre White not playing for a group of 2 or 3 games where, he was sick and then he was just simply not playing. And so Tre White, as much as I want him on this basketball team, I'm not shocked by the fact that he's entering the transfer portal. But I think the concern now is more big picture. And, I'm conceding that's the concern at this point. By the way, if you don't mind, 18 likes, 90 people in here already on a weekend. I joked around with my Discord, by the way, link in the description. We've been having conversations about this since it dropped. I got news like 5 minutes before this news happened. So the Discord knew, and then we've just been talking about it ever since. I was at a, animal farm with my kids when this dropped, and not that you guys care, but I appreciate all your likes, supports, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think that's what I was trying to say. I've got a very big episode planned for you guys on Monday, and that's just basically going to be talking about Brad Underwood, because I think this is the topic that the chat was talking about before while I was preparing the graphics and whatnot. And, I hate to say this because I feel like I'm rehashing the conversation from yesterday. And, I wanted to let you guys know before I get to the Tre White and really talk about Tre White, the Morez Johnson news yesterday, I've doubled and tripled and quadruple confirmed my sources. And now what my sources are, that's up to you to decide how legitimate they are. I feel very comfortable with them, and that's the only reason I can come online right now and say with a straight face, I believe what I believe. And I do think that the Morez exit yesterday, there was nothing Illinois can do about it. And I thought about it at the time when I went live immediately afterwards. I've almost doubled and triple confirmed, guys. A deal was done earlier this week. They had redone the deal for Morez multiple times because that camp kept coming back for more money. Or Illinois thought they finally agreed yet again earlier this week. And little did they know that, a family member was continuing to shop without Illinois knowing. And then the news was dropped. And it's not just me. One of the most prominent, I would argue the most prominent premium insider out there is confirming the same exact news that I am. Now, I'm not saying we have the same source, but you had the family members reach out to this premium insider and tell him Wednesday there's nothing going on. And so I feel very comfortable sitting here telling you that, the Morez thing, it's being blamed on the head coach. It's being blamed on certain members of the assistant coaching staff. And if you choose to believe that, that's fine. Some people want to believe that, which is completely fine. I genuinely think, I love Morez Johnson. I'm bummed out about the news from yesterday, but I will say that I'm as comfortable as I am. I can be saying that there was nothing the staff could have done about the Morez situation. He basically is about to double his pay wherever he decides to play next season. From what I'm gathering now, it's going to be an SEC school, but I haven't confirmed that. Those are more so just whispers. All right, let's talk about Tre White. This year, he played 32 games, averaged 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1 assist, 50% from the field, 33% from the three-point line. Tre White was one of those guys who I liked. I know a lot of the Illini fan base was up and down with him all season long. But he's a player I like because I feel like you need players who can just be productive without you needing them to have the ball. Guys who can just give you numbers and produce on the court without a high usage rate. And Tre White was a lot like that. I think I called him a B-plus version of what we had with Terrence Shannon Jr. just a year prior. Terrence, we didn't run plays for. And Tre White, we really didn't run plays for on offense. But still, Tre would have the occasional 17 points, 7 rebounds, type of game. And, over the last couple of weeks, he learned to shoot the three-pointer. And he was one of our better three-point shooters for the season. Now, whether that was going to carry over to next year, who knows? I don't know. And that's, again, why this news that he's leaving isn't a shocker that it seems to be for a lot of Illini fans. And that's just me being honest. I joked around at the end of the year that I should have been Tre White's agent because I like him so much and I think he's such a valuable player. But I see what's going on, right? Illinois, Brad Underwood has a certain style that he wants to play. And, Tre may or may not have been a fit for that. I don't know on the Tre front. Look, I gave you the background of what's going on with Morez. With Tre, I'm being completely upfront with you guys. I don't know. I don't know if it's player induced. I don't know if the coaching staff let him go. I don't know if it's a monetary thing. I'm not going to come on here and make things up to your face because there's no need for me to do that. I want you guys to know that when I say something, I stand by it. Right here, in the Tre White situation, I don't genuinely know. There's a bigger picture problem, which again is going to be the focal point of Monday's episode. It's my everydayers in here know, and if you are one of my everydayers, please mention in the chat. I want to know that you guys are here because I always enjoy this discourse back and forth with you guys. My everydayers know that I've talked about how I knew this past season was going to be an up and down one. But my full intention, my full expectations was that next year that this team was capable of winning a national championship, basically because of the foundation that was being laid after this past year. The idea was, hey, I know you're replacing 10 new guys, but the following year, you're going to have a senior year Kylan. You're going to have a senior year Tre White. You're going to have a sophomore Morez Johnson. You're going to have a second year Tommy Abisic mixed with, a star freshman, I'm sure, and, a junior year Jake Davis. Clearly, that's not happening anymore. Two of the guys, one guy I absolutely counted on coming back. Morez Johnson's not going to be here. And now Tre White's not going to be here. And now we're at the point where, are we confident, 100% confident anybody's coming back? I think once Morez entered his name to the transfer portal, we can all say without a doubt that there's no one we know 100% is going to return. And that includes Kylan. That includes Tommy. Listen, people are calling Kylan Boswell. And people are offering Kylan Boswell a lot of money right now. I think he's coming back, but I'm not going to sit here in front of this camera and tell you guys that I know for a fact that he is. Tomislav, we know, is going to test the NBA water. So when that news drops, please, guys, don't overreact. That one we know is going to happen. The expectation is, if he gets the grade that we all expect him to get, maybe mid to late second round, I think it makes sense for both parties for Tommy to come back to Champaign, have another year of development. And then, next year, hopefully be able to be projected as a late first round pick. I think, working with Orlando Antigua is going to work out with Tommy a great deal in just the development of his game. But it's the idea, it's about culture, right? And that's why I think the Tre White departure hurts. The Morez Johnson one hurts tenfold more. That's just my opinion. Tre White, Kylan Boswell, I thought you bringing these guys back helps at least set some veteran leadership in that locker room. And, Morez, I thought was going to be our last hope almost for a guy who lives and breathes the Illini. And I think that's what a lot of you guys are upset about is we're not going to have those type of players anymore. It doesn't look like, some institutions might, but Illinois, it really does seem like it's going to be a destination where you go and try to win college basketball games. And, ultimately that is good, right? I like to win college basketball games and I want to compete for conference championships. I want to compete for national titles. But at least with the way this head coach and this coaching staff, their process, I don't know how else to word this, is you're going to have this cycle of players. And it's getting harder and harder, to really root for it. I got a couple more thoughts right after this. We replaced 10 guys last year. And again, I'm not certain any of these guys are coming back anymore at this point. And yes, it hurts saying that. But if I had to use my best guess, we're going to have, at the very least, if I had to guess, Tommy and Kylan are coming back to next year's roster. I think Jake Davis is coming back. So that marks 3. Then really it's just going to be those 3 guys, right? Unless I'm missing anybody. You have 3 guys. I must be missing someone. DJL's. I'm just waiting for DJL's announcement. DJL's not going to be playing in Champaign next year. So, by the way, guys, when DJL announces he's entering the transfer portal, let's not do this again. We don't have to overreact on the DJL stuff. Like, we can talk about it now. We know what's going to happen. So let's not overreact on that. But the idea is, I've given Brad the benefit of the doubt for the past 5-6 years, this past year mainly because of the rebuild job that he had to pull off. If he has to go through the same process next year, I'm not sure I'm going to give him the excuse that I gave him this year about, like, my standard's a Sweet 16. I want that to be the baseline every single season. This year we were 1 game short. We did win 22 games. Very happy with that. Had a okay. Well, I think we finished 6th or 7th in the Big Ten Conference. I prefer higher, but again, if this is what the floor is for this Illinois program, 22 wins, a round of 32 NCAA tournament performance, I'm okay with that. But back-to-back, next year, this team is not full of seniors. This is a team that had young guys who are essentially choosing to go to play somewhere else. Now, again, I say that. Some of you are going to immediately say, some guys are going to choose to, play for a different head coach because that's just how you guys are hardwired. But the truth is, some guys are just looking for more money. And some guys just don't fit, right? DJL, at this point, let's be honest, he just did. I'm a big proponent of DJL. I really liked him. He doesn't fit in this system. We tried for 2 seasons now. Even I, as a DGL fan, I want him to go somewhere, go to a mid-major and go score 17 points a game. A team that can offer you the ball in your hands for most, a high usage rate. He's not going to get that here. But now we're going to go through the same cycle again. And so this one, again, I'm not going to give Brad the benefit of the doubt. So again, that's going to be the topic of Monday's episode. I've thought long and hard about this, guys. I think it's going to be an episode you guys enjoy. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've liked the channel. And now we're going to do what I'm sure you guys have all been waiting for, and that's get to the comments right after this. Again, therapy session. Let out whatever you want to say, whether you believe it or not. 24 hours. That's the point of these episodes. These are bonus episodes. I don't have to come on and do them. I like to hear your guys' reactions. We're at 38 likes, 150 people in here, guys. Math, not mathing. Let's hit that like button while you're here, hit that subscribe button while you're here, and let's just go ahead and get started. CSC says, losing Tre is not ideal. Losing Morez was devastating because it goes beyond NIL why he's leaving. Okay, I agree with most of that statement, but I do think I stand firm saying that 90% of the reason Morez is leaving is monetary. Joseph says, it's evident now we have a coaching problem. Joseph, if that's what you like, I'm saying this respectfully because I don't know if you've always been like a Brad Underwood. Hater's not the right word, but there's some people in this chat who I'm sure I'm going to get to shortly are. You can choose to believe that, but there is context. Tim Anderson's gone. He got benched midway through the season. Like, there's reasons for Tre wanting to move on if you look at it objectively. And again, there's a lot of money going out there. I warned you all about this on this previous Monday's episode. Rossi, nice to see you. Good grief. You just can't count on anything anymore. Everything is just speculation at this point. 100%. Kenny Energy says, sadly, this is the state of college basketball now. I'm starting to question if there's a culture problem here at Illinois. According to Derek Piper, there was some type of fallout with Morez. Within the last few days, there was a fallout with Morez and his family. And follows up, it's shocking that the Illinois guy wants to leave Illinois, but I'm certain he got a better NIL deal somewhere else. This will be Tre White's fourth school in 4 years. Another thing, and I'm not questioning anyone's character. That's not what this is about. But Tre White, at this point, every year of his college career, he's going to have played for a different school. Started at USC, freshman year. Sophomore year, he went to Louisville. Junior year, Illinois. Senior year, TBA. Again, context matters, guys. It's not simply as black and white as some of you guys want to make it out to be. Jason Lynch says the state of college basketball football is a complete mess joke. Also, Brad Underwood, move on from your son and hammer. Thanks. Very popular opinion. Jay says the mass exodus has begun. Carl says, sounds right on Tyler Underwood. His repeated comments to Luke Goody to never drive to the basket sounded moronic. Defenders won't give you space if you don't drive. Okay. I mean, I haven't heard that. Jay said, disappointing at the staff. Hard to neglect this now. Jay, I understand your opinion, and I value your opinion. I know you're on the show a lot. But, again, I've voiced my side. I don't think this is strictly a coaching staff thing. The thing is, the guy who recruited Tre is gone now. And while he did do pretty well at the end of the year, Tre White, I'd be a hypocrite not to say otherwise. I was, again, hyping myself up as should have been his agent. He was benched for a while. And so, maybe, look, hypothetically speaking, we have Josh Dix visiting this weekend, right, from Champaign. We have the Sanford kid from Iowa also visiting. If you replace Dix with, you replace Tre White with Josh Dix, quite honestly, you've upgraded your roster. And this is me saying I'm a Tre White fan. But for what Brad Underwood and this coaching staff, the style of play that they want next year, you're better off with a guy like Josh on your team than a guy like Tre White on your team. And that's not saying Tre White is or isn't a better player than Dix. I'm just saying, we'll see what happens this weekend because we might get some news. And Tre White, as a good college basketball player, like there are other fits. See, I'm going to say something which some of you, I hope you can look at it or listen to me objectively. I really like Tre White as a basketball player. Tre White's, his skill set can be replaced in the college basketball transfer portal, right? For me, I was more upset with Morez Johnson leaving, not because we can't replace his skill set, but because of what he represented. The guy who'd been committed for 3 years, the one guy that the Brad, supporters could always fall back on, be like, look, there is a sense of loyalty in this program. It can happen. This guy stayed loyal for 3 years in high school, and he was going to become an all Big Ten player, potentially All-American, down the road. Loyalty. Tre White, there's no sense of loyalty with Tre White. I mean, the guy has played for 3 schools in 3 years. And again, like his skill set, while valuable, I don't know. It's like, this is not something I'm afraid that Brad can't replace. We've seen Brad do this before. Okay. Brad's very good at finding talent when the pressure is on. The unfortunate part is a lot of us just hate dealing with the stress that it brings most of us. A couple more comments right after this. Kenosha says Brad benched him for no reason during the season. Tre White was the third best player on this team, in my opinion, from a coaching perspective. It's flat unacceptable. Kenosha, I 100% agree with you. And I've agreed with you when it was happening on this very show. I said, Tre White was, if not your third, top 4 player on your roster. And the fact that he wasn't playing, to me, was inexcusable. And it's a coaching decision that Brad made that I didn't agree with at all. And whether that factored into Tre White leaving today, possibly, probably. So again, I'm not disagreeing with you there. Czar says clearly there's a problem on the staff. Again, I know that's going to be a lot of what a lot of people are going to think, and I'm not saying I blame you for believing that. I'm just offering a different perspective. Whether you want to be open to it, that's up to you. Jay says you cannot do this mass overhaul every year and maintain success. Jay, 100% agree with you. 100%. And that's why, again, you don't want to miss Monday's episode. I'm literally calling next season a make or break season for Brad because of these circumstances and because of, Jay, essentially what you just said there. I agree with you completely. Kenny says the fact Brad played Ben over him is absolutely ludicrous. I think you can manage to limp into the tournaments most years without our budget, but you will never compete for championships. Jaden Epps moved on and became the leading scorer for Georgetown as well. Sky Clark thrived with UCLA. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Kenny. I don't think any Illini fan misses Jaden Epps or Sky Clark. And I mean that respectfully. I think that's the one thing, guys, that we have to acknowledge. Everyone that's left Illinois, I don't know if there's just one guy that we're like, oh, I can't believe we let him go. I know the popular one's going to be Dane Danger because, him winning those conference accolades that he did. But his style of play, the throw it down, big man scores from the interior, it doesn't play with this 5-out offense that we have here. Like, he wouldn't have been able to do that here. But even so, like Dane Danger, granted what I just said, I'll give you that. But we've had apparently a program that everyone says has mass exoduses every single year. Well, out of all of them, the only one I can think of that wish we could have him come back was Dane Danger. Jason says Josh needs to really have a talk with Brad and figure out the issue, or just move on from him and hire someone else. Because honestly, I'm tired of looking at spoiled Tyler Underwood on the bench with his bro hammer. It's one of those things. And maybe I've got to devote a half hour to this sometime this week too. Fans' perspective on these assistant coaches. I'm genuinely surprised. Like, I don't care who the assistant coaches are. I want to see results. And to me, results are our offense has been one of the best offenses in the league, in the country, 2 years running. And that's what matters to me. Okay. This offense last year was top 25, I believe, and it had very little shooting. It had no inside presence, and it was led by a couple freshmen. And yet that offense finished top 25 in the entire country. That's getting the job done. Some of the roster pieces, sure, it didn't fit. That's on Brad. But, I don't know if it's just people don't like the fact that he's his son. And now, stories are his name's being dropped. In my opinion, it's just kind of using it as a scapegoat. When I think, it's very easy to say you didn't like the assistant coach. And, oh, by the way, I'm also going to make 2x what I was about to make here at Illinois. But again, having said that, me being focused on results, yeah, if Zach Hammer is the guy in charge of our defense, yeah, I'm ready to move on from him. Because why? The results have not proved themselves. To me, the offense has not been the issue. The offense, we've had one of the better offenses in the country the last 2 years. And imagine if our three-point shots actually fell in. If we had the personnel, the talent to have the three-pointers go in, we'd be a lot higher. And that's why I don't mind this offensive system moving forward. That's why I'm excited about a guy potentially like a Dix or whatever coming in here. And, sure, and not as upset about a guy like Tre White potentially leaving. And he says, it's not negativity if it's true. It's hard to prosper when you have a complete roster overall every year. Regardless, I support Illinois every year. I'm not a bandwagon fan. Kenny, 100% agree with you there. Again, that's what Monday is going to be about. We can't keep doing this every single year. Let's see. John Stock says, Tre was our best player. We're screwed. I wouldn't say that. I would not say he was our best player, but he was certainly a very valuable player. Pat says, this is ridiculous. Underwood needs to be let go. Czar says, I gave you a like, Sonny. You do good work. See, Czar and I very rarely share opinions on this show, but I always share his opinion. Like he's allowed to have it. I always say, my opinion is not necessarily right. It's just mine. And you guys have every right to say yours. So be like Czar and hit the like button if you can. We're at 51 likes, 171 people joining me on a Saturday afternoon. There's no such thing as an off season with Illinois basketball, right? There's no such thing as a weekend. Not at all. Derek says, if Brad's son is the problem, why not make Brad get rid of him? Correct. The key word in that sentence is the first one, if. Jason says this is not a bad thing. This is a college basketball issue. Absolutely. It could be a bad thing, but this is what we're going to talk about. Kenny says Brad doesn't want to let go of his son. It's personal for him. See, Kenny, my opinion, and I'm not saying you are right or wrong, is it's easy to say that, right? We're injecting our own feelings onto the situation. We don't know. It's not that doesn't want to let go of his son because it's personal for him. It could be he doesn't want to let go of his son because his son has produced a top 6 offense 2 years ago and a top 25 offense last year. It's take out the fact that it's his son. If it's assistant coach X, you want to keep that guy, right? Especially a young up-and-comer who, by the way, reports are, I can't confirm, but reports are other NBA teams have reached out to for roles. Tyler's chosen to stay here. Pat says, every player's going to leave. We'll be left with Ben Hummerkaus and Jake Davis. You know what would be funnier, Pat? And I hope you guys share my sense of humor. It'd be funny if all these guys left and somehow the only remaining holdover again from last year's roster is going to be D's jail. That's not going to happen. But man, Jason says 22% of D1 players are in the portal. This isn't sustainable. Exactly, guys. Again, this is not an Illinois issue. I wish I could convey this more. I know it seems like it is. Kansas's star freshman just went to the portal maybe an hour before I went on live. And go on the mentions of all those posts on social media. Kansas fans going crazy. Fire Bill Self. All this happens everywhere, guys. It just sucks because the entirety of the roster turnover. And if that's what we have to do this again for a second straight year, and I'm telling you, if that is what happens, I'm not going to be happy either. Czar says some people also will buy anything that the staff puts out. That goes both ways, Czar. Let's be fair. Derek says either the son goes or he goes with him. E. Miller says this is why people need to say screw college basketball. Only the rich can afford to get good tickets. Does Tyler still live at home? Time to find something on his own. Well, they really need to fire the coach that coached the defense because that was a joke last season. 100% agree with you there, Kenny. I'm results oriented. Again, that's why I'm more open to the offensive side because it's performed. Defense, 100%. You got to change the entire system on the defensive side. Jason says, you guys all think this is Tyler or Brad's fault. No. It's an issue with lack of commitment. We allow these players to do that. If you transfer, sit out a year. That's system. Czar said it's not just money or NIL. Other programs of our stature with stable coaches aren't turning over like this. Kansas, North Carolina, those guys are blue bloods who've had coaches there for 3, 4, 5 years. They're having roster turnover as well. Wisconsin's about to turn over their entire roster due to graduation. You guys can say that's different, but that's what Brad Underwood did last year. Last year, the roster turnover happened because they all graduated. Marcus, Quincy Guerrier, Justin Harmon, all those guys had no more eligibility left. Pat says, I thought you were only allowed to transfer twice. White already did that. Oh, you can try. Not anymore. Nothing's enforced anymore. Jason Long says, join the Discord. Absolutely, guys. I can't tell you enough. 140 people I think we have in there now. It's conversation all day, every day. The link is in the description. We have a really great time. Look, I'm at the age group where I'm a little too old for Discord. And I started it just because I know other channels have, and it was a way to build a community. I'm floored by how big it's grown. I think it's the biggest Illini one out there. I'd argue it's one of the biggest sports one out there at this point. And so if you enjoy talking Illini, don't worry about if you have never used Discord before. I barely know how to use it and the features, but it's great conversation. Pat says nobody wants to play for Underwood. I mean, Derek says White was inconsistent, so he won't be missed. He was inconsistent, Derek. That's fair to say. I'm not saying he won't be missed. I disagree with you. I think he will be missed, absolutely. But he can be replaced. This is not a Morez Johnson situation, which Morez, again, his skill set can be replaced. I think Morez, the reason all of us were in shock was it meant more. It meant more than what you saw just on the court. Pat says, don't tell people how to fan. If you want to have a podcast dealing with fans and how they feel comes with it. Pat, I feel like I've always been pretty fair about that. Yeah, of course. I always say one of my most popular quotes is, my opinion is not right. It's simply just mine. Everyone's entitled to their own. I give the floor to a lot of people who I don't agree with at all. I think people in here will agree with me. Zara says, I like Tommy, but the idea that you should build around a center that only shoots threes and can't play defense is doomed to an early exit. See, I don't know. I'm not sure. Tommy is a player who I think he'd be all Big Ten next year. I think he's a kid who he needs to develop more of an inside game, but we saw how valuable he was to last year's team. And it doesn't have to be built around Tommy. Just what we want him to be is a pillar of that team, right? Tommy wasn't our best player last year. He was the most important, at least in my opinion. But when you talk about a list of more better players, you had KJ and you had Will Riley as the two best players. I don't know if Tommy's going to be the next best player on next year's team. Mitch Sutton says, I sure hope Orlando Antigua can land some stud recruits for the 2025-2026 roster. Mitch, you are so smart. That's also a topic I'm tackling this week. This is also why, again, this is stressful, but I think Illini fans can relax a little bit, because knowing if you have someone that you have to navigate this turbulent waters, Brad plus Orlando Antigua and his connections, we have two of the best. And I mean that. There's better coaches out there. Don't get me wrong. Brad, again, my opinion, is a top 15 coach. But to navigate this style of roster building, I don't know if there's a tag team I would want more than Brad and Orlando. And I'm going to talk about that sometime this week, Mitch. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Jason Frent says, got to sign someone now. Yeah, absolutely. We need good news for Illinois fans, right? But just keep in mind, last year, we didn't sign our first player till April 1st. And then Tre White signed a few days after that. So, hopefully in the next week or two, we're going to be able to add some more people to next year's roster. Zar says, Rogers maybe, and don't forget about Jaxis. So, Zar, there's whispers that Ty might come back. But truthfully, if I look at things objectively, every Tim Anderson guy has left. And Ty was a Tim Anderson guy. So I would welcome Ty back with open arms. I just don't think he's coming back. Pat says, Mike, that sentence. Oh, all right. Emo says, I don't believe grades put him up in PE classes. Okay, not sure. Jason Long says, Daddy Brad Fight Club. Let's go. All right, guys, maybe that's all I've got for you guys today. Again, I appreciate all of your guys' likes. 61 likes in here. We have 175 people. I appreciate each and every one. By the way, this was the best week of this channel that we've ever had. So turmoil with the Illini is good for business, apparently, but I'm telling you, this gives me, as a fan first, I've been a fan first before I started Illini Cast, before I was hired on to do this. It causes a lot of stress, but you know what? It's the passion of this fan base. And that's why I come on, I'm getting messages on social media. Hey, did you hear about Tre White? We need a live reaction. Like, I mean this humbly. Like, it's so flattering. And, I love doing this because of how fast we're growing. We're by far the fastest growing Illini channel on YouTube. And it's all because of you guys. And the audio side, if you guys aren't subscribed to this on the audio side, please do. We're on all your favorite audio platforms. the news isn't going to stop with Illinois, guys. We know at least one or two more exoduses is coming. It's just a matter of time before we hear about DGL. Whether I go live for that one, I don't know. Probably not if it happens today. If it happens tomorrow, sure, because I always enjoy the vibe checks. I always enjoy the therapy sessions. But, I just want to be clear, to what Pat said earlier, that I come on here and I don't mean to be disparaging in any sort of way. You may not agree with my takes, and I certainly may not agree with yours, but I like to have these therapy sessions. You envisioning that news broke and you're at the bar with your buddy and you're venting and you're talking, and that's all this is. So regardless, that's enough of me ranting. I appreciate all of you. Please hit the like button, subscribe button on your way out. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, hopefully good news next time, breaking news next time. ILL. Love you guys.